Hey, what's up everyone? This is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com, and in this video I'm going to share with you some music production tips while recreating the beat in Ariana Grande's Boyfriend featuring Social House. So let me go ahead and play you the final result, and then I'll walk you through each step of that process. So let's start with recreating the drums, and then we'll go ahead and recreate the sound that we hear at the beginning of the song, and then add the bass line and bring it all back home. So focusing on the drums, I have a drum rack here in Ableton Live loaded with some drums sounds. We've got a kick, snare, and some hi-hats. And all these sounds are from a sample pack that I've created, which you can download absolutely free. Just click the link below in the description box to download the sample pack loaded with one-shots, construction kits, loops. It's yours absolutely free. So let's double click in this session view that we're in Ableton Live, and it's going to give us a 1-bar empty clip, just a 1-bar loop. And let's go ahead and start by drawing in the hi-hats. And so the hi-hats are going to be playing a quarter note value rhythm. So just by holding your command key here on your computer keyboard and by pressing command 1 or 2, you can change the subdivisions of your grid. And the grid is what everything's going to be snapping or aligning to when you're sequencing your drums. So if I just double click, it will give me like an 8th note. So I'm going to go ahead and command 2 and use the pencil tool to just simply click and draw in those notes. So let's go ahead and put that downbeat right there with the kick and a snare here. Now we notice we have that nice boom, boom, bop, that nice little pickup kick that we hear before the snare, and that's really important because that's what adds a lot of that swing and that vibe to this rhythm. So I'm going to decrease the grid value here and add that kick before that. That's really cool. If that kick was placed anywhere else, it really changes the vibe completely. So it's important. I mean, having the right placement of these sounds makes, a big difference. So just by using my arrow key, I'm going to shift that kick over to where I want it. And then let's go ahead and put another snare on the 2 and the 4. All right, next, let's go ahead and add another kick. So I'm going to nudge that over. And right there. And then the way I like to kind of, when I'm trying to train my ears into following where the beat or where certain kicks and certain placements of sounds land is, I kind of hear it or play it alongside with it and then just pause it right where I see the hit happen. Boom, boom, bop. So we have that, do that. So what I'm going to do is but we need to make that second kick a little snappier. So we can now lower the grid value and place it there. And we'll nudge it right there. Now once I have the kick, the snare, and the hi-hat pattern in place, I'm going to take these 2 kicks that we've just copied here, and I'm gonna place that pattern on another kick. So let's just move this kick here, holding the option button, dragging that up to an empty cell. We have the same identical kick. So what we're gonna do is just go to that kick and put the filter on and filter that all the way down. So it's not so predominant as the first kick. And then we'll just go ahead and move that. So it almost acts as a ghost note. I'm going to go to that and lower the volume of that kick right there. Now with that pattern alone, it could be a little empty. So it's always good to kind of layer that with a loop or break loop that adds a little bit more texture to the drums. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to head into a folder filled with some classic breaks. That's cool. And we'll just drag and drop that into my session view, and need to make sure that I'm dialing in at the downbeat here. So I'm going to right click, set bar 1, beat 1 here, and simply just click that and warp from here. And that's going to make sure that this all falls into time. So let's just go ahead and play that along with our drums. it's a little bit messy with that ghost note kick that's going on. So we can just highlight the first 2 bars here, hit Command L, and that's just going to loop that section there. So now, and let's go ahead and put an EQ to just eliminate some of that low end. And that helps to clear a lot of that mud from there. Also, let's go from beats mode to repitch, and that's going to repitch the actual loop to fit the tempo that it's in. So this is without it. Really helps kind of just glue the drums all together. So now let's go ahead and focus on that riff that we hear at the beginning of the song and really going out throughout the whole song. It's the key anchor riff that really catches our attention and glues the whole song together. Now, this could be really anything. It could be a sample that the producer found and pitched down, or maybe it was just a loop that they came across that sounded really great. So when it comes to how do I recreate that type of sound, or how do I get in that general ballpark, it really is helpful to visualize what it is that you're seeing in your head when you hear that type of sound. It's really one of the helpful tools for me to develop my ear training and being able to recreate or get close to recreating a type of sound. I'm visualizing it. So obviously when I'm hearing it, there's a, harmonic structure to it. So it definitely sounds like some kind of vocoded, something was going through a vocoder and certain chords are being are triggering that vocoder. And then there is some, like a wah swelling. So I'm immediately thinking vocoder with some LFO filtering, things like that. And that is that's 80% of the battle right there. So let's use, let's try to get in the general ballpark here. So I'm going to go to that sample pack I mentioned earlier. I'm going to go into this Just Pop folder, this construction kit, and I'm going to use the vocal chop. So next, I'm going to go ahead and use iZotope's Vocal Synth 2 as the vocoder that we're going to be using to create the sound. So drag and drop that onto the audio track that we want to process with the vocoder. In this case, it's the Vox chop. Now, by default, Vocal Synth 2 is in auto mode, meaning that you're not going to have an external source determining what harmonic structure will affect the vocoder. So we're going to click that and go from auto to MIDI mode here. And now what we need to do is create a MIDI track and use that MIDI track to play the notes that we want that the vocoder would be triggering the sound. So I created a MIDI track here. And on this MIDI track, we need to make sure that the output, the data that's being recorded from this MIDI track, is being sent to the vocoder. So I'm going to go here to the output of this MIDI track, select the track that has the Vocal Synth 2 on there, right here, and make sure that it's set to Vocal Synth 2. That's going to be the plugin that this MIDI data will be sent to. So here is the actual MIDI. These are the chords, and let's just take a listen. I'm also using this Max for Live plugin. Now, when you have Ableton Live 10 Suite, Max for Live is included in that. And so this is a MIDI monitor plugin, really cool and useful as if you're dabbling and you wanted to figure out what chords you're actually playing. It'll actually tell you all the MIDI input that you have in there. So really cool thing to have. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on in the vocoder. So I've turned on BioVox, I brought the clarity all the way up, I've got a little bit of that breathiness, and I'll go ahead and just solo that one. And then I'm doing a little bit of the vocoder. This is where you hear mostly of the harmonic chords being played. And the Compu Vox really helps get more of that breathy. I know that we're getting the breath from the BioVox, but this just kind of helps get that more robotic breath. I really don't even know how to explain it, but let's just put it up. So there you go. It's got that. It's like if you were breathing in, or you were trying to talk and breathing in backwards at the same time. And then we have a little bit of the polyvox, and this is more sorts just changing the format of the actual vocal. And I'm widening it up here with the width knob, and adding a little bit of delay and ring modulation. Now, that's creating the harmonic chords. That's what we hear. We have the vocal chop going through the harmonic chords. Next, let's go ahead and create that wah effect, right? And that's going to come from filter. So let's go into Ableton Live, use the auto filter. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring the filter frequency down, and we're going to use the LFO, the low frequency oscillator, to add some of that movement, that wah movement. So if we just left it like this, it's just filtering out the high frequencies because we're using a low pass filter right now. So let's go ahead and crank up the amount of LFO. Let's just put it on stun, and we're going to change the shape. We're going to, you could choose the sine wave, and that's the movement of the LFO. But we're going to go from hertz here to time. We're going to sync it up to the project, and we're going to put it at every quarter note. And just a little bit of resonance, so we get a little bit focus in on that specific frequency that we're cutting off. And let's go ahead and add some OSR drive, some filter drive. Now, what's tricky here is, or what's actually kind of cool, is that you can use the offset knob here to actually change the actual movement of that LFO, or how the modulating is actually being processed through this filter. So if we move the offset a little bit, that'll actually change the timing of when that modulation or the LFO is happening. So let's put it with the drums and see where we're at. Okay, now right after that, I'm also going to be introducing some side chaining. So it's just that there's, not only are we getting that wah, but we're also getting a pulse pushing that effect down as well. So I'm going to open this up a little bit more so we get some more of that high-end stuff that we hear. So we hear some of that breathiness come through. And then I'm going to go to a plugin. I'm going to just go here and go type in Kick Start by Nicky Romero, and go in my plugins folder, and there it is. Drag and drop that, and we're going to leave this at every quarter note. Now you could use a compressor and have it set to a quarter note sidechain on something, a kick or whatever audio, but this will just get the job done a lot faster. So we'll leave that on there, leave it at quarter note. I'm going to use this nice and tight sidechain. And then what we're going to do is add a little bit of saturation, because we want to just crank this up a little bit. Some drive, add some more from drive to that, and bring the output a little bit back. And then I'm going to use an EQ to shave off a little bit of that top end. So I'll open it more here, and then use the EQ here to just comb off a little bit of the top end. Now here's what I was mentioning with the offset. If I had that back at 0, now if I wanted to, we're just affecting this vocal chop through the vocoder, and we can add a little bit more substance to that by adding another piece of audio. So I can go back to my Beat Academy sample pack. Let's try Kodak Green, and let's just add this whole actual mix here. I'm going to click this, drag and drop that there, and I'm going to group these two, and I'm going to take all the processing that I've done on the vocal chop, just click, highlight that, and drag that onto the group. So this is affecting both the Vox chop and this Kodak Green track as well. It's just adding more audio information that's going to be processed through the vocoder. If I take the Kodak Green out, You can also try moving around where the filter is being placed in the chain of effects. See, right now we're filtering the vocoder. But maybe we could filter the signal and have the vocoder just vocode the filtered LFO signal. So putting the filter before the vocoder will give you a different response. And moving different places. So I put the kickstart at the end here instead of having it after that vocoder. And so just moving things around can give you a different feel, or actually a different result altogether. And I've added an EQ here to shave off any of the low end coming in from the actual samples. So now that we have that in place, let's go ahead and add the bass line. Now for the bass line, I'm going to use IK Multimedia's Moto Bass, because we do hear like this live bass going on through a thing and some amazing riffs that are being played throughout that. So Moto Bass does a great job in recreating a lot of the nuances that you would hear on bass recordings. So I'm going to choose the 70s P bass. And then we're going to go over here to the strings. And by default, it's set to 4, but I'm going to go ahead and add a 5th string on there so that we can go to that lower octave, E flat. All right, so let's go ahead and put the bass line down. Just choose an empty clip slot and start recording. So I like that last take right there, the last riff. So that would be bar 9. So it's kind of why I like recording in session view in Ableton Live, because I can just jam out until I feel like I've gotten a good riff. And so here's the take. So we're going to quantize this, but one thing to keep in mind when you're quantizing something with the swing is you don't want to quantize a stiff straight to the nearest 8th note or to the nearest 16th note. You might want to go to your quantize settings. So this is Shift Command U, and make sure you're quantizing to the nearest 16th note triplet. And that'll continue to lock in that groove, that nice swing feel. So we'll hit OK, and we'll shift things over a little bit, and let's just take a listen. Okay, cool. And then I'll just use an EQ to just take off some of that top end there. And go right here. All right, let's see what we got. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has been helpful for you. And as my gift to you for watching this video, I'd love to send you the sample pack that I've mentioned earlier, as well as a PDF guide walking you through the 5 steps to creating a professional beat. This comes from years of my experience of working alongside some of today's biggest artists. Now, whether you're a beginner at producing or making your own music, or you've been making music for a while, this is a great reference to go by that helps speed the production process. So click the links below in the description box to download both the sample pack and the 5-step PDF guide. Thanks for watching, and be sure to hit the little bell and the subscribe button and do all that crazy breakdance fighting that you got to do below there to make sure that you can stay up to date with all the upcoming videos that I have coming out soon. Thanks for watching. See you next time.